It is time to officially recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel.
When President Trump made this announcement, one man likely smiling was Republican mega-donor Sheldon Adelson. The staunchly pro-Israel casino magnate gave $25 million to a political action committee supporting Trump, and $5 million to Trump's inauguration festivities. But during Trump's first summer in office, Adelson was disappointed that the president hadn't moved the American embassy from Jerusalem to Tel Aviv on day one of his presidency like he said he would.
The president telling the heads of Israel, Egypt, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, and the Palestinians today he will recognize Jerusalem as Israel's capital, an unprecedented move breaking with U.S. policy since Israel was created. Despite warnings today from Turkey's President Erdogan, the kings of Jordan and Saudi Arabia, and all of America's NATO allies, that this could kill hopes for Middle East peace.
And Jerusalem should ultimately form a shared capital between the Israeli and Palestinian states.
The move has been called reckless by foreign leaders and goes against the wishes of his secretaries of state and defense. But faced with disappointing evangelical and pro-Israel backers like Adelson, or alarming the rest of the world, the president sided with his base and with one of his biggest donors.
We will move the American embassy to the eternal capital of the Jewish people, Jerusalem.
The State Department tonight warning embassies around the world to be alert for violence, like the Palestinian uprising that erupted when Israel's former Prime Minister Sharon went to Jerusalem's contested holy sites in 2000. A warning echoed, multiple sources tell NBC News, by Mr. Trump's own Secretaries of State and Defense.
Is the Secretary of State on board with this?
He's made his positions clear to the White House. I think the Department of Defense has as well. But it's ultimately the president's decision to make. He is in charge.
It could start uprisings in the region, in Jordan, and all of these places that see this as anathema.
This year, Israel warned they'd open fire if anyone approached the border fence, and then they followed through. 1,400 people were injured, many shot by more than 100 Israeli snipers, some in the back as they ran away, another as he prayed.
Thank you, President Trump, for having the courage to keep your promises. And the truth is that Jerusalem has been and will always be the capital of the Jewish people, the capital of the Jewish state.
You have snipers around here? Yeah, we have snipers on a number of rooftops overlooking the American embassy. That's being coordinated with the American security services. The embassy's locked down pretty tightly, but in Gaza right now, there's people getting shot. They knocked down the fence. Does that have to do with the embassy opening? No, there's no connection whatsoever. Hamas is sending innocent civilians to a border, and unfortunately, a number of people have been killed until now.
Given the large number of injuries and deaths, the ominous statements made by Israeli authorities in the days leading up to the protest, as well as indications that the individuals killed or wounded were unarmed or did not pose a serious threat to well-protected security forces, and in some cases were actually running away from the Green Line fence, there are strong indications that security forces used excessive force.
From the very earliest beginnings of Netanyahu's career in politics, he's been an opponent of the two-state solution, been an essential part of his ideology. And it is just intimately bound up in his idea of what Israel is, that it needs to have control of the West Bank.
Israel must retain the overriding security control over the entire area west of the Jordan River.
The government has encouraged settlements in the West Bank, like the one advertised here.
Home of your dreams, the tranquility of a picturesque setting and crisp mountain air, with all the benefits and amenities that Jerusalem has to offer.
ממשלת ישראל לא תיכנע לארגון של מרצחים, לארגון טרור שפל. הר הבית זה המקום הכי חשוב לעם ישראל.
Using drones from the air and armored bulldozers on the ground, Israel is launching its largest military incursion into the occupied West Bank city of Jenin in 2 decades. So Israel says the operation is focused on counterterrorism. Palestinians call it a new war crime against our defenseless people. The Palestinian Health Ministry says at least 8 people have been killed, with that number likely to rise, and at least 50 others now injured.
In the early hours of Saturday, October 7th, Israelis in the south of the country huddled in basements and bomb shelters. They listened as Hamas militants went house to house in their neighborhoods, brutally killing civilians of all ages and taking hostages. These homes were in communities just a few miles from this border with Gaza, where for 2 decades the Israeli army has guarded this wall, which holds more than 2 million Palestinians in what's been called an open-air prison. Little water, little electricity, virtually no way out. Hiding in fear, Israelis texted their friends and family a very similar question. Where is the army?
I want to bring in CNN's Katie Bo-Lillis. She's got new reporting that U.S. intelligence did have some warnings about a prospect of more violence here from Hamas just days before Saturday's surprise attack. Katie Bo, what did these reports say? How specific were they?
Yeah, so Anderson, what we have learned is that the intelligence community was circulating a pair of 2 separate intelligence assessments just in the days leading into October 7th's devastating attack. One of them on September 28th warned, based on multiple streams of intelligence, that Hamas was poised to escalate with some cross-border rocket fire into Israel. A separate October 5th wire from the CIA warned sort of generally of the increasing possibility of violence by Hamas.
Egyptian intelligence officials claim that Jerusalem allegedly ignored repeated warnings that Hamas was planning an attack on Israel, including an alleged direct notice from Cairo's intelligence minister to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. The Egyptian official said Egypt, which often serves as a mediator between Israel and Hamas, had spoken repeatedly with the Israelis about something big without elaborating. He said Israeli officials were focused on the West Bank and played down the threat from Gaza.
Because much of the raw information in these intelligence assessments was coming from Israel in the first place, and Israel wasn't raising these alarm bells with the United States.
Trey Esper, I appreciate you joining us. First of all, what do you make of this new information about U.S. intelligence warning that something may be happening, some uptick, not too specific? What do you? Should it have been caught? Should that have raised more alarms?
It's very interesting. I'm not surprised that we had some type of intelligence at that level. I am a little surprised that there wasn't more preparation taken on the Israeli end, if you will, to heighten the security level along the fence line, the border line between Israel and Gaza.
These videos, which were widely posted to social media, look nearly identical to the attacks on the 7th that killed more than 1,200 Israelis. One location is less than 2 miles away from the Erez border crossing, one of the Israeli bases militants attacked on October 7th. Arab, Israeli, and Western media even covered the training events. By 2023, Joint Room militants appear to be more sophisticated in their tactics, and their annual event was moved up to mid-September.
They were doing training on that was very close to one of the major boarding crossings and was visible from the air. It's remarkable that Israel did not pick up any real signs of this operation, which was clearly planned for a very long period of time, involving many, many different people.
Yeah, that was a very interesting report.
There were empty posts on the border there. Troops weren't getting the proper security notifications. It was clear that the entire system for monitoring what was happening on the Gaza border had broken down.
A lack of intelligence, however, wasn't the problem, says Margaret Vanstein.
I think that the main thing that failed is just the fact that they didn't listen to us.
She's part of a unit of female soldiers who surveilled the Gaza side of the border. 6 months before the attack, she noticed and reported unusual activity.
We saw a lot of people that coming to the fence and checking the fence and trying to damage the fence and take parts of it.
And that wasn't normal?
It wasn't normal at all. it's unusual. And especially when it happens so regularly, like every day, every week, couple of times a day. They tested our reaction all the time. They came and then went near, far, like they played with us all the time.
She says her team reported the activity up the chain repeatedly.
They didn't take anything seriously. They always thought that Hamas is less powerful than what they actually are.
Among the first slaughtered by Hamas on October 7th were 15 of Margaret's friends, as she calls it, simple soldiers from her unit. And an intel analyst at another unit raised the alarm in July, according to the New York Times. The paper also reports more than a year before the attack, Israeli officials obtained a 40-page Hamas battle plan, the Israelis codenamed Jericho Wall, a plan the New York Times wrote Hamas followed with shocking precision.
If you take out Saddam's regime, I guarantee you that it will have enormous positive reverberations on the region. And I think that people sitting right next door in Iran, young people, and many others will say, the time of such regimes, of such despots, is gone. There is a new age, something new is happening.
And that is speculation on your part, or you have some evidence to that effect?
Apply military force against them.
The way we did in Afghanistan.
The way, for example, I want to answer your question.
Well, I guess I'm running out of time, so I quickly was trying to get there. We've done, I think, what you proposed in Afghanistan, yet I haven't seen that sort of neighborhood effect.
Well, I think there's been an enormous effect.